Welcome back to another episode of Sports with a Z and a T. I'm Bryce Linsky alongside Taylor Lattimore. We are presented by Godzilla Media, sponsored by Mohawk Honda, Josh Stone Supply in Troy, and Saving Face Barbershop up in Saratoga Springs. We have a jam-packed show to get to, so we're going to get through this quickly as possible because we don't have that much time and we have a lot to get to. We have college football, the chaos of the past week, and of course the games coming up. We have Jon Gruden and the scandal going on out in Las Vegas. He has stepped down as the Raiders head coach. And then we'll get into our takeaways from this past week in the NFL, look to week 6, make our predictions as we always do our fantasy studs and duds. Oh, and Ben Simmons decided to show up today out of the blue in Philadelphia, so we got to talk about that. And Kyrie is canceled until further notice. So let's get right to it, Taylor, because we have about an hour and 15 minutes and a hell of a lot to talk about. We'll start with the college football chaos. My Penn State Nittany Lions. Yeah, it was chaos all across the board. My Penn State Nittany Lions fell victim to the injury bug and inevitably lost to Iowa. I will take it to my grave that if Sean Clifford did not get hurt, Penn State was winning that game by 30. If you watch that game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not over. It's not over. Penn State controls their own destiny. They did not fall that far in the rankings. They are 7. They control their own destiny.
Ohio State.
Can't lose to Ohio State. They control their own destiny and very well could have a rematch with Iowa in the Big Ten Championship. And if that would be the case, and that would mean Clifford comes back, they would absolutely smack Iowa as they were doing. They were starting to pull away, and then Clifford got hurt. By the way, Iowa, that fan base is a bunch of classless pieces of shit. If you see the videos of them booing every time a Penn State player got hurt, booing Clifford off the field when he clearly had a shoulder injury. There was a video of the Iowa fan doing the crybaby and holding his shoulder. Get fucked, Iowa. I mean,
that guy looked old. Like he was like you're not a student. Like, get out of there.
So I lost, and I made it to. I was like, since when is Iowa the cesspool fan base of the Big Ten? Like, don't fall to Maryland and Rutgers' level or Michigan's. Like, don't fall to that level of just disgracefulness. I always thought Iowa was a good college town. You know, they did that wave to the Children's Hospital. No, get the hell out of here and go. I can't wait to meet you in the Big Ten championship game and absolutely smack you. Bama lost to Texas A&M.
That was crazy.
That was absolutely absurd. And that really shakes up the college football playoff picture entirely. You have Iowa, who looks beatable, right? At number 2. You have Georgia, who's number 1. But Iowa looks beatable, and I'm not convinced. And especially, I just feel like there's still that chance, especially now, for 2 Big Ten teams to go. Like, if Iowa wins out but loses to, say, Penn State, I'm just throwing it out, loses a rematch to Penn State in the Big Ten championship, you can make an argument that Iowa should be in the college football playoff too, alongside the Penn State Big Ten, who would be the Big Ten champion. This is getting really interesting. Michigan, look, they're undefeated. They're highly ranked, but they haven't beaten anybody, and they haven't beaten anybody convincingly. Wait till they play Penn State in a couple weeks. Wait till they play Ohio State in a couple weeks. It'll change. Michigan State, same deal. They're not legit, but there's a critical piece of the puzzle in determining the college football playoffs. It really is Bama going to win out? They have to. Is Penn State going to win out? They have to. Both teams control their own destiny, but they have to handle their business, right? Where Iowa could afford probably a little slip up, especially with how wide open the Big Ten West is. Georgia's in the driving seat all of a sudden. You still have the wild card Cincinnati, who is now 3 in the nation. Still not a big believer in Cincinnati. They don't play anybody though. So the fact that they're already in the top 4 and they don't play anybody, I worry that they're going to steal a college football playoff spot when they really, I mean, in an expanded college football playoff, yes, they would be deserving, but for me, it would be tough, especially with the chaos up top. With especially Bama losing, with Penn State losing, but those 2 teams still control their destiny. Oregon still really controls their destiny a little bit. I mean, they probably need more help than any of the other one-loss teams out there. Oklahoma still controls their own destiny. Any of the teams that I just listed, I would much rather see in the college football playoff than Cincinnati, because guess what? If Cincinnati makes the college football playoff, they're the 4th seed, and they'd be playing Bama or Georgia, and it's just not going to be a good game. I mean, we've seen this song before. We have seen that song before. Like, Washington made the college football playoff. Now they're coming out of the Pac-12 back in 2017, but a team that really was not a top 4 team made the college football playoff and just got absolutely bombshelled by Clemson. That I have a feeling if Cincinnati were to make the playoffs, we're kind of looking at the same inevitable result.
Well, that was the problem that I was about when I was going to bring up when you were listing off all the teams, and the fact that Cincinnati is already in the top 3 or top 4, top 3 right now, is that they don't play anyone else. And so unless they slip up against some unranked team, because they don't play any more ranked teams. So if they slip up against an unranked team, of course they're going to fall out. But if they don't, then you're going to be looking at a Cincinnati team that's undefeated, and then heading into it, it's going to be the committee's job to tell Cincinnati fans that, sorry, you just don't look the part. And they don't often do that. If someone is undefeated and they've played at least one ranked opponent and look good, and then they win out, usually they end up in there. And so with Bama falling and Penn State falling, it's going to be tough for someone to oust them if they don't lose. And so they do control their own destiny, but other teams like Iowa also do. So if Iowa runs the table the rest of the way there, I can't see them falling out of the top 4
Listen
either.
to the top 7, though. Georgia, Iowa, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, Bama, Ohio State, and Penn State. One does not belong. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, if Cincinnati played any of those teams, they're losing. Big time.
I agree.
I think the chaos, like, Cincinnati could easily slip up. If they do slip up, they're done. They're absolutely done. They have to go into undefeated and win the American Conference. And even then, I still have my reservations because, like, look, Penn State, if they win out, they still have a ranked opponent in Ohio State to play. They have 3 top 10 opponents still on the schedule: Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State. The same could be said for Ohio State, who plays Michigan State, Michigan, and Penn State. Michigan plays 3 top 10 teams. You see what I'm saying? Like, one of these teams is like, obviously you have the concern that they're going to beat each other up. That's obviously a concern. Say, yeah. But yet again, one of those teams could take advantage of that opportunity as well. And then you still have Iowa on the other side. Like, that's where the Big Ten all of a sudden comes in. And it's like, 2 teams they deserve 2 teams.
Cincinnati does have a tougher matchup for someone who's not ranked in UCF, so it's going to be
UCF's not who they used to be.
But then they also play SMU, who's right now is the 23rd. So yes, they're ranked way down at the bottom there, but they play SMU second to last on their schedule, so they'll also have that too. If they win that, then it's like, okay, well then they did beat 2 ranked teams, assuming SMU is still ranked at that point. But it's going to be hard. But also, I just wanted to mention. Not that it had much bearing on everything because the ranked team won, but how crazy was that Oklahoma game? That game was insane.
Yeah, Oklahoma, Texas was absurd, and Texas did Texas things. They blew it.
I know, last second 50-yard run for the win. Yeah,
I mean, Texas is such a joke of a program. I hate Texas. I honestly, they're such an overrated, sorry program that I don't understand their fan base at all. They think they're national champions every year, but this top 10, Taylor, is so intriguing to me, like, look, Georgia is going to be there. They're, I think, the best team in the country right now.
They look like it.
Bama's not losing again.
Bama's gonna get back in. That's the thing, is like I just
Bama's gonna get back in.
How they couldn't get back in.
Oklahoma is a team that's going to slip up. They are the most overrated outside of Cincinnati 6-0 team out there. And then Ohio State and Penn State see, this is how you could tell that it's going to be chaotic. Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan are 6, 7, and 8. Top 3 teams in their own division. They all still have to play each other. Whoever comes out of that is smooth sailing. I think at this point, Ohio State or Penn State, they have to win out. I just don't see a 2-loss team unless they beat. Like if you're a 2-loss team, you're likely not making the Big Ten championship and winning it. So that's where it gets tough. But I think, look, if Sean Clifford could get healthy and Penn State has a bye this week, I still believe they're the best team out of the Big Ten. They proved it to me even in a loss last week to Iowa that with Sean Clifford, this offense was playing well against who some claim to be the best defense in the country. They were doing what they wanted for the most part until Clifford got hurt, and obviously throwing a freshman in Taquan Roberson on the road for his first really legitimate action is a tough ask. And they still almost did it. It was heartbreaking, but I kind of take solace in the fact that they still control their own destiny. They have a week to get right. Hopefully Clifford gets right. They have a kind of a bounce back game against Illinois in 2 weeks. And then they hit the road to Columbus.
Oklahoma in that game. One of the most intriguing things about the game overall was that Spencer Rattler actually got benched at one point.
And they looked better.
They
looked better under Williams. Caleb Williams looked good.
That like controversy where, I mean, if it's going to come down, I would think to just the hot hand. If it looks better with Williams, they're going to go with Williams. But the thing is will that controversy, that tension in the locker room, will it make them falter? And especially when they play a team like Oklahoma State on their last regular season game, that's a tough one right there if they can make it that far. So yeah, I don't know. I expect Alabama to get back in, and then it's just
there's going to be changes. There's chaos in the Big Ten. Big Ten
is going to be the thing that like messes this all up.
The Big Ten determines a lot. Cincinnati is obviously there, so. There's not much to really talk about coming up in this week's games. You have Oregon taking on a 1-4 Cal. San Diego State at 24 undefeated takes on San Jose State. Cincinnati, like you mentioned, takes on UCF. They are 20.5-point favorites. I don't see Cincinnati having a problem, but you never know. Michigan State takes on Indiana. Watch closely in that game. Indiana is always stingy, especially at home, and I'm not convinced, in Michigan State quite yet. Oklahoma State and Texas face off. Auburn, licking its wounds after a tough game against Georgia, takes on Arkansas. Florida, LSU. TAMU, after the upset, back in the rankings at 21, takes on Missouri. Kentucky and Georgia, I guess, could be said to be the game of the week. 11-1 matchup.
23-point favorites in that game. 23.5.
Yeah, it's probably not going to end well for Kentucky. Purdue takes on Iowa. So, I mean, and that's the problem with Iowa. They play in the Big Ten West, and the Big Ten is so heavy in the Big Ten East. Iowa has a joke of the schedule remaining, so I highly doubt they're really going to have too much of a tough ask. They might have a game here and there where they have a scare, but I doubt that they'll really be put to the test. BYU takes on Baylor. Bama heads to Mississippi State. Oklahoma plays TCU. Ole Miss heads to Tennessee, and NC State heads out to Boston College. Arizona State wraps up the slate of ranked games at 10 o'clock against Utah. So not really too much to talk about.
Iowa does luck out not having to face like Ohio State or really anyone else.
Well, that's just it. The Big Ten East, and it's so unfair each and every year because the Big Ten East literally holds the 3 best teams in the conference each year: Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. Every single year, and it sucks that one of the 2 of those can't even have a chance to make the Big Ten championship simply because they're in the division with. It's been Ohio State lately, but Penn State as well has made the Big Ten championship the last in 2017 as well. So it's going to be interesting. The Big Ten dictates a lot of what we're going to see moving forward. But before we head to the NFL, and obviously we have a lot to get to, especially with our takeaways and what's going on out in Vegas. I do want to mention while we're on the college football scene about the upcoming Godzilla Media UAlbany bus trip that we have been promoting via social media, and I know other podcasts are promoting as well. Godzilla Media's first bus trip is thanks to Johnstone Supply in Troy. Johnstone Supply. Today, Junior. Johnstone Supply Kicks Cancer is the theme, and Johnstone Supply and Troy and Godzilla Media will be supporting Pink Month. All proceeds from the trip will be donated to the American Cancer Society. Sign up now to be a part of the bus trip, which is Saturday, October 23rd. It will be $60. A ticket that includes the t-shirt, bus trip, food, and drink. You can contact Gaz at godzillamedia.com for more information. Payments do include check and cash. So what is the day including? At 10:30 a.m., you are going to meet at Johnstone Supply. Taylor, I know you are locked in for this trip, so you will be representing sports with a Z and a T. I will be in Las Vegas, so I will not be there. 11 a.m., the bus will leave to head to U-Albany to watch the U-Albany Maine game that kicks off at 1 o'clock. Should be a fun day full of a bunch of shenanigans at Casey Stadium. You can also visit GodzillaMedia.com/Johnstone U-Albany trip to find out more information. Plus, you can win 2 free tickets to the event by visiting and entering the contest on Friday, which is the 15th from 4 to 5:30. Levesque and Gaz are broadcasting live at Johnstone Supply in Troy on 6th Ave in Troy. So make sure you head out there and give yourself every opportunity to go on this trip. I know you're excited about it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. I believe Levesque and Gaz are both going, so it's going to be a riot, I'll tell you. And I believe there was 20-ish spots when Gaz let us know the other day still left. So
yeah, it sounds like it's filling up quick. So get them while you can, or else you're going to miss
40,
out.
I believe so. Like 20 gone. So get up on that.
All right. This isn't exactly what I wanted to talk about today, but we kind of have to. And Taylor, I know where you're coming from on this. I'm going to let you kind of take the lead on this once I describe, and I'm sure everybody knows what I'm going to be talking about here. Because unless you've been living under a rock, Jon Gruden is no longer the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders after resigning after homophobic and misogynistic emails that were recovered. What's that?
And racist. He hit everything.
And racist, yeah, he crossed the board on this
everything.
one. And the ironic thing is, there was no investigation into Gruden. This was an investigation on Bruce Allen and the Washington football team, with all the investigations going on in D.C. And they uncovered this because him and Allen are buddies. But for those who need a little update on what happened, Jon Gruden. Look, I mean, 4 years has been a very highly respected figure in the NFL. I loved his analysis on Monday Night Football and his Gruden camps with all the quarterbacks. I thought he was a good hire for the Raiders. It seemed like the Raiders were heading in the right direction this year as well. This was kind of a bombshell of a report that came out late last week and evolved over the weekend. Like I said, his departure came after a report that NFL officials, as part of a separate workplace misconduct investigation that involved Bruce Allen, Gruden had casually and frequently unleashed misogynistic and homophobic and racial language over several years to really just devalue people around the game and to mock some of the league's momentous changes. For example, denouncing the emergence of women as referees, the drafting of, and I know this is where, Taylor, I'm sure you're going to take it, the drafting of a gay player in Michael Sam when Bruce Allen was involved in that, pretty much saying don't draft him. Also, as well as the tolerance of players protesting. And keep in mind, the ironic thing about that is Carl Nassib is on the Raiders. I mean, we talked about this over the summer when Carl Nassib came out. He is on the Raiders, was a player under Gruden. He, like I said, also denounced Yeah, denounced the tolerance of players protesting during the national anthem, which I know that was a very highly debated topic a couple years ago.
Sure.
And all those messages were sent to Bruce Allen, the former president of the Washington football team, and others while he's working for ESPN as a color analyst for Monday Night Football. I will go into detail, and I'm just going to use the language, and if you don't like it, I apologize, but this is unfortunately the report. This is from the New York Times, straight out of the New York Times, and I quote, in the emails, Gruden called the league's commissioner, Roger Goodell, a, quote, faggot, and a, quote, clueless anti-football pussy, and said that Goodell should not have pressured Jeff Fisher, then the coach of the Rams, to draft, quote, queers, a reference to Michael Sam, a gay player chosen by the team in 2014. In numerous emails during a 7-year period ending in early 2018, Gruden criticized Goodell and the league for trying to reduce concussions and said that Eric Reed, who was one of the players that kind of led the national anthem movement, along with Colin Kaepernick, should be fired in several instances as well. Gruden used a homophobic slur to refer to Goodell and offensive language to describe some NFL owners, coaches, and journalists who cover the league. And of course, let's not forget his comments about President Obama during his re-election campaign in 2012. Then Vice President, now current President Joe Biden, whom Gruden called a, quote, nervous, clueless pussy. Might not be wrong on that one. Just might not be wrong on that one. I'll give him credit for that. But he also used, and this is where the initial report that came out before they dived even further into it, because the initial report was this, that he used similar words to describe Goodell and DeMaurice Smith, who is the executive director of the NFL Players Association. The league was already investigating Gruden as a result of another email he wrote to Allen in which he used racist terms to describe Smith, who is black. In the email, Gruden criticized Smith's intelligence and used racist trope to describe his face, mostly his lips. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. Like, that was the initial report. It seemed like it was calming down. Even Mike Tirico, Tony Dungy on Sunday Night Football said, that's not the man that we worked with. We know everybody deserves a second chance. Gruden, apologized, and it seemed like we were moving on. And then Monday came around, and then all of that, the report came out that the NFL found more emails that they were going to send to the Raiders and Mark Davis to review. And then all of a sudden, Gruden, out of the blue, pretty much right before Monday Night Football, resigned. And
it was like
I think it was
the first half.
Yeah. And it came out that he resigned, and it just has been an ugly turn of events for Jon Gruden, a highly respected Super Bowl winning head coach, now disgraced former NFL head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Raiders will be moving on without him. This was a tough call for Mark Davis, obviously, who loves Jon Gruden. It seemed like the Raiders were going in the right direction, but unfortunately, there's more of a conversation about other things more important than the direction of the Raiders at this point.
Yeah, and it seems like obviously this has been going on for a while, like 10 years, I think it spans from some of the emails. And so it's disappointing to see, for sure. You wouldn't expect it from a guy like Gruden. I mean, he seems nice enough on the outside, and those guys in the Monday Night Football booth just like saying, oh, that's not the man that we worked with. And maybe it wasn't, and maybe he's really good at hiding it. But when he thought he was, in his safest place, when he thought that he had these private emails that he thought that wouldn't get out, that journalists wouldn't go digging and find them. That's where these come out. When no one's looking at you, how do you act? I think is the thing here. And so it's all cool and well and good if you say, oh, well, on Monday Night Football, he never said any racist shit. And it's like, yeah, of course he didn't, because he wouldn't in front of the world. But behind closed doors in his private emails to a guy he thought was his friend, like, that's how you talk when you're with your friends. That's how you really feel when you're comfortable. And so I'm glad he's out. Like that's just how it goes. Like if you're gonna make that shit, and that's what I was definitely gonna bring it back to Carl Nassib because he plays for the Raiders. So it's like, how do you think that makes Carl Nassib feel when he's just sitting there and he's like blindsided by this, and then he's just like, oh, my coach has made homophobic stuff like slurs before. Like maybe he wasn't like completely homophobic like now, like maybe he's changed, which is, people change, but like it's not like he tweeted this when he was like an 18-year-old kid who didn't know any better or whatever. Like he was a grown-ass man. He was like, however old. I think he's in his 40s now, so he's probably in his 30s back then when he was writing this stuff. So it's like maybe he's changed a little bit, but like you can't really change to your core some of your beliefs when it comes down to it. And he can say whatever he wants now, but this is the kind of people we need to get out of sports in general. I mean, out of society, honestly. I mean, cancel whoever, but if they're going to be not only racist, but also misogynistic and homophobic, it's like, yeah, I get the people who are like, should he be punished for emails that were 10 years ago? But it's like, he was just going to cause a whole issue for the Raiders in general. So that's, I think, a lot of reasons why he and Davis got together and just like agreed to part ways, whether it was a firing or whatever they want to call it, a resignation. It was going to be a distraction because, when you have your players are black, you have Carl Nassib who's gay. It's like you definitely have the women referees are still there. So yeah, he needed to go. Good riddance in the end, but wouldn't expect it. Came out of nowhere, but nothing is safe. Like you think your private emails are safe, but when they're in the workplace and sent to someone else in the league,
and that's just it. You would think that a guy like Jon Gruden would be smart enough to know not to email something like that.
Yeah,
it's really just shocking entirely. And I'm just reading more of this report as it goes on. And I mean, the Allen family and the Gruden family go back a long ways. So they're obviously very comfortable with each other. But Bruce Allen and Jon Gruden appeared to have very few boundaries in expressing homophobic and transphobic language. In an email from 2015 that actually included Sean McVay in this report, McVay's name is brought up. He's CC'd on this email because if you remember correctly, Sean McVay was in Washington for a while as well. Gruden crudely asked Allen to tell Brian Glazer, whose family owns the Tampa Bay Bucks, where Gruden coached until 2008, to perform oral sex on him in a joking manner. To kind of like, I'm just going to say it because this is a podcast. Blow me. If you're pissed off at something, oh, blow me. Something like that along those lines. Allen said Glazer would take you up on that offer. So clearly this is something that they joked about often.
And it's like it comes down to like that whole like going back to like, when Trump was running for president and he had the grab by the pussy and he just said it was locker room
Same
talk.
idea.
So that's exactly what this is that idea of, oh, it's just locker room talk. And it's like, all right, sure, I guess. But like, now that it's public, like
but
a lot
the
of
thing
people
is,
can be very offended by that.
When the NFL is trying to be such a progressive league, and whether they're doing a great job at doing it or not is another discussion. I mean, we could talk about the lack of black coaches in the NFL or the lack of black GMs. I mean, the conversation with Louis Riddick as a GM that isn't, and Eric Bieniemy as a head coach and has been going on for, it seems like 2-3 years now. I mean, we simply don't have the time to go into that. But for a league that's trying, whether you think they're doing right or wrong, or putting enough effort into it, this is something that's kind of like the old boys club, right? Like Jon Gruden and the old boys club that they just want to stick to their ways. And if the NFL is trying to be progressive and try to become better and trying to be a better model for really what this country is trying to be, this is not where it doesn't have a place. And Aaron Rodgers said this today. There's no place in football for that anymore. That there is no place for it. Not that there ever was, but especially now, there is no place for it. And they they could go and take it elsewhere.
And it's like, the jokes about the commissioner is like, everyone loves to rag on him and, boo the commissioner. But like, there's only so far you can take it, especially when you're talking to a fellow colleague who is, running a team. And there's just levels to it. And I think that it's at a certain point you cross the line. And honestly, like if it didn't come out in these emails, like he would be a coach. Like he would still be the coach forever, but like it's just these emails were like work-related emails, and so it's like like that shit's gonna come out. Like if you're texting in your private, like you're just texting like that, no one's gonna come and like search your phone for that. Like, the New York Times can't get that information. But when it's public and you're having this investigation into another shitty franchise in the Washington football team, you're associating yourself with that, and you're all going to get wrapped up in it. And that's just what happened to Gruden. And like, some of it maybe is just locker room talk to him, but like, people take real offense to that stuff. And this is the consequences. There is no place in football. We shouldn't have to have a place in football for this. So yeah, I agree with Aaron Rodgers in that. Got to get that shit out.
So let's move on, because we do have a lot to get to, and that's something that we obviously wanted to discuss. And I'm sure more and more is going to come out as the league further investigates. Obviously, Jon Gruden is no longer the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
I don't know if you saw, they asked a couple of hours ago, I got the notification that they asked for all 650,000 emails that were like investigated. They want them all released. So we'll see how that goes.
So this is only going to get uglier, and I'm sure it's going to be tough for this Raiders team to really collect themselves. We'll see. Maybe they will collect themselves, just so they don't collect themselves in 2 weeks, because the Eagles go out there and I'm going out there. Let's talk about this Week 5 slate, Taylor, before we go to Week 6. And we're not going to talk too much about the games in Week 5 as much as we normally do, simply because we have so much to talk about, obviously, with the NBA season and 2 bombshell storylines that we definitely want to talk about. So let's talk quick about this Week 5. And I know, Taylor, you don't want to, but we will talk about your Colts. I know you have a hard drink over there. I do get it. I understand. But let's talk about some of the other games first. And I do want to talk about really the Chiefs and the Bills, because I think that was one of the bigger. You and I picked Kansas City, expected Kansas City to continue their momentum after winning, getting back to 2-2. They did not look good against the Bills. And as much as the Bills looked good, the Chiefs look broken. And now all of a sudden you're 2-3. The Bills are 4-1, and the Bills have the NFL's easiest remaining schedule. At the risk of making too much out of strength of schedule rankings, just 5 games into the season, I'm going to do it, Taylor. But the Bills have a very navigable. Is that a word? Navigable. They have
I know
a very.
What you're trying to say.
You know what I'm trying to say? Okay, they have an easy path to try to stay up top of the AFC. Their 12 remaining opponents combined for a .390 winning percentage, tied with the Titans for the weakest remaining schedule. The Bills are in the driver's seat for the AFC's top seed, Taylor.
Yeah, they are, and you're right. Something is off with Kansas City.
Lost Clyde Edwards-Helaire for at least 3 weeks now. He's on short-term IR with that sprained MCL. It did not look good. It's lucky that it's just a sprained MCL.
It seems like teams are starting to figure out their offense, that if you just you double Tyreek Hill and try your best to just play really physical with Kelsey and try to make Patrick Mahomes do it with other people like Pringle and whoever else that they have out there, Hardman, and they just don't. They rely on their 2 weapons so heavily that if they don't have those, it seems that Patrick Mahomes is getting kind of lost, and he's uncharacteristically throwing these interceptions. And they just don't look good. And on the flip side, the Bills look fantastic. They did it against bad teams, and now they've done it against a good team, and they're putting up nearly 40 points a game. Their last 3 games, 43, 40, 38.
They are cruising right now, and they're definitely one of the best teams in the AFC. Don't know if they're the best, but
and that Bucks and that Bills loss to the Steelers. Just doesn't that seem like such a long time ago now, where we were talking as like the Bills look broken? Yeah, no, they are
the flukiest win of the season so far.
But let's stick to the AFC West, Taylor, because I want to talk about Justin Herbert.
This team that might be the best in the AFC.
This Chargers team, man, is for real, and Herbert is taking that next step. He has so many attributes that have contributed to his rapid ascent. Let's be clear, but his big arm, his mobility, which is completely underrated in my opinion. And do you see the dimes that he's placing on his receivers' hands? I mean, fitting it into tight windows, putting it where only they can get it, locating. I mean, he is looking like Tom Brady 2.0 out there half the time, with his ball location. Over the last 3 weeks, he's thrown 11 touchdowns to no interceptions. You want to talk about Kyler Murray as an MVP candidate? Justin Herbert is having, and I'm just going to relate this because, and you could relate to it too now, Taylor. I'm just going to throw it out there. But it reminds me of like that leap from year 1 to year 2 that Carson Wentz had, where, he was good. You saw promise. Now year 2, and all of a sudden he is an MVP, slam dunk MVP finalist at this point. And that's what Justin Herbert is doing. He's a young quarterback who is just seemingly making Keenan Allen and Mike Williams better. People were worried about the weapons outside of those two, but he has made this offense click, and their defense, talking about the Chargers, has been very good as well.
Yeah, and that's why I don't know if the Bills
not so much against the Browns, but
AFC. Yeah, well, because I do think that Justin Herbert and these Chargers are really, really good, and they might be the best team in the AFC right now. Their defense is playing amazing. I mean, giving up 42 points to the Browns is not great, but the Browns are a good team, and that's why I picked them to win this week, and I'll eat that because Herbert and the Chargers just went off. This game was pretty nuts in and of itself, especially towards the end. That finish was wow, and so it's just Herbert's really good, man. He's got those like mini Patrick Mahomes vibes, and right now he looks better than Patrick Mahomes. Let's just be honest about it.
Lamar Jackson looks better than Mahomes. Herbert looks better than Mahomes. Oh, let's talk about Lamar Jackson. He keeps finding new ways to win, Taylor. He does, and the Colts seem to be in the driver's seat. Look at him, he's chugging the heart. Is that whiskey? Is that what you have?
That's what I need. That's what I need.
I have Taylor drinking 37 minutes into the show. I'm doing a good job.
You don't have me drinking. The Colts have me drinking.
You are providing me a number 4 overall pick right now, Taylor.
You know what? You keep mentioning that, and you know what? I'm done with it. You can mention it all you want. I'm happy. You know why? Because you know who wasn't the problem last night?
Carson Wentz. No, he had a very good night.
Amazing, because he is doing it with a broken-ass offensive line. He doesn't have a number 1 wide receiver. Pittman's getting there, but he's not there yet. He has a good running back. I'll give him that. But he's doing it with next to nothing. Not as bad as the Eagles the 2 years ago when he dragged that team to the playoffs. But he's doing it with not a lot. And if it was one kick away. It's one Rodrigo Blankenship not being hurt away. I don't know why he's kicking out there. I don't give a damn. Let Sanchez, the punter, try to kick it because Blankenship had it. We were right there. Like, this game was winnable. I think what it came down to was the second half. We got a lot of injuries in the secondary. We lost both our starting cornerbacks. So whatever good defense we were playing against Lamar in the first half, which was very good defense, it petered off because 1, he was using the no huddle and they were getting exhausted, and 2, they were getting hurt. And so less and less good secondary pieces, and then your defensive lineman can't get any real pressure because they're all tired because he's using the no huddle. Good on them. Good strategy. It worked perfectly. I knew as soon as Blankenship missed that, I knew it was over because I knew that with the luck that they had, they were going to lose the coin toss in overtime. And if if the Ravens got the ball first, there was no stopping them because we just couldn't stop them. The only hope was to get the ball first in overtime and score a touchdown and win that game. But it wasn't going to happen. But the Colts were in position to win all the way down to the last second. If we just gotten that kick, which was, I don't know, it was like a 40-yarder. It was like a kick he should have made if he wasn't hurt, which apparently he had a hip injury that we weren't prepared for and didn't have a backup kicker or anything or any plan already. And he also got blocked earlier in the game, which didn't help at all. And the Colts had their chances because the defense played well in the first half and shut down Lamar for a good half of that game and forced him to throw it, forced that running team which had tied the record for the most 100-yard rushing games. We stopped them from doing that again.
Yeah, but Lamar Jackson threw for over more than 400
Yeah, because we were letting him. We bet him. We said, Lamar, throw the ball. I dare you. And he called our bluff. And he threw for 4 touchdowns. But the fact of the matter is that game was in hand. And Carson Wentz looked fantastic. If this team was fully healthy, I still think that they would be a Super Bowl contender. They're just not. And that's the way it goes.
God,
if Carson Wentz had an offensive...
You sound like this is fantastic.
Quentin Nelson and Brendan Smith.
Oh,
two best offensive
is this for my made for Philly fans that listen to this show too? Is this how I sounded for the past 3 years? Is this how bad it was?
Probably. If you had an offensive line,
man,
and I do believe that if he had Quentin Nelson, the best offensive lineman we have, one of the best in the entire league, we played without him and we nearly still beat them. And Braden Smith on the other side, don't forget to mention him. And then if the defense didn't stop getting hurt every freaking down, then yeah, maybe we could do something, but we couldn't, and it was heartbreaking. But the only thing good that I can take out of that was that Carson looked pretty damn good.
He did. No, I'll give you that. He did look good, and I tweeted that. I tweeted that as well. That Carson looked good. The Eagles won. They're 2-3. It was a very defensive battle down in Carolina, but they managed to do it. Now they have the Buccaneers on Thursday night. Can't wait. But it was at least good to reverse course. They are now 2-3. Other than that, it really was kind of a chalk week. Cardinals rolled. Rams rolled. Russell Wilson is now on IR. The Falcons won the shit bowl out in London.
Lions again losing 19-17.
Lions, they just find more different ways to lose. It's fantastic. Taylor was once again Taylor was once again wrong about his NFC East darling. You cannot let go. Can you let go? Let go.
Yeah, I'm not picking them this week. I don't know who they're playing, but I probably won't pick them.
Well, we're gonna get to that in a second. The Patriots, they were my survivor.
I'm definitely not picking them.
The Patriots, they were my survivor team. Gave me a heart attack. The Bears ended up beating the Raiders. Chargers.
That good of a team.
The Giants are a absolute dumpster fire of a team that will be looking at Mike Glennon as their starting quarterback this week. What could possibly go wrong? And then, of course, the Ravens, like we talked about, are looking very good. All right. Before I give the updates, because we have a new leader on the leaderboard in our pick'ems, I just throwing at that. I am just throwing it out there.
Pick the Eagles to beat the Bucks.
I'm not. All right, look, I love my birds, but I'm not stupid, okay? I got to get to Mohawk Honda. Don't get me pissed off before Mohawk Honda, okay? Let me get pissed off after Mohawk Honda, because there's going to be, between the Eagles and Ben Simmons, there's plenty of time to do it, okay?
We love Mohawk Honda. So.
Yeah, we do love Mohawk Honda, so I'm going to get into a good mood for this. The current supply and demand challenges out there within the auto industry make this truly a perfect time for you to get top dollar for your vehicle. And right now at Mohawk Honda, you can take advantage of the Kelly Blue Book Instant Cash offer. They will put cash in your hand for your vehicle the exact same day you come in, even if you don't buy from them, which is a pretty sweet deal, especially for all those new college grads or students in need of a new ride or some extra cash, which I was in that place at one point. I get it. I know how that feels. Mohawk Honda has consistently kept their lot fully stocked with hundreds of pre-owned vehicles, and their large inventory makes shopping fun as you browse through the many makes and models to choose from. And you can also even check out their full selection online. So if you don't have time to make it that day to go see what they have, you can go online and look at every single car that they have. Or if you want to do your own research before you go there and you say, I want that one, you have that ability to go online and do just that. Stop in and say hi to Greg Johnson, the assistant general manager, or Jake Hot Sauce Doyle, Louis the VIP man Morales, or one of the many other helpful sales consultants there at Mohawk Honda. There is a vast selection of Honda certified pre-owned vehicles, so now is the time to go ahead and take advantage of that Kelley Blue Book instant cash offer that I was telling you about. Mohawk Honda in Glenville, where they always go out of their way to please you. And what pleases me most, Taylor, is that I have now taken the lead in our pickups challenge. I am up 2 games after a 13-3 week. You are 10-6. I am 53-27. You are 51-29. Bye week start, so we don't have as many games to pick moving forward for a good old while, and we do have a good amount of teams on bye this week. Thursday night football. Tom Brady and the defending Super Bowl champions go and head to Philly to take on my Birds. There is an upset in the making. I can feel it. No, I'm just kidding. This is going – look, the Buccaneers, I think, are proving each and every week that they look the part of being a top contender in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl once again. Granted, it was against Miami, but what he, as in Tom Brady, did to dissect that Dolphins defense was truly incredible. The Buccaneers head to the Link to take on the 2-3 Birds. Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni trying to get the offense back on track after a slow week against Carolina, but the defense looked much better. So where I do think this is a good game, I myself am not even taking my Birds. I'm taking Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm going to make this quick. Tampa Bay, much better.
Well, you know what? You don't have to be a dick. All right.
Yeah, like Tom Brady looked great. He's looking great. He has so many weapons. He is in the running for the MVP as well. Don't count him out. He threw for what, 4-5 touchdowns last week? Something
5.
Like that.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, that'll do it. I think he's up there with the leaders for touchdown passes thrown. Yeah.
What did London do to the NFL? Last week they had Atlanta and New York.
That's because we keep all the good shit here. So we just ship off the crap over to England.
This week this week they have the Dolphins taking on Urban Meyer's Handies. My God, I don't think there's more of a dumpster fire than the Jaguars. Tua is at least looking like he may be back this week for the Dolphins, but this is an absolute dumpster fire of a game.
How much better does that make them? That's the real question.
Enough to beat Jacksonville, but not enough to do anything more. Brissett has looked completely incompetent, which is actually kind of surprising considering some of the success he had in Indy. But I am going to go with the Dolphins in this one, even though I would love the Jags because we have the Dolphins first round pick too. So we have 3 top 10 picks right now. It's great. I love being an Eagles fan because I can even take solace in other people's pain. It's
don't
great.
Worry, you'll fuck up those picks too.
Well, you know what? At least we have the opportunity to.
You'll take JJ Arcega-Whiteside instead of DK Metcalf, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
At least Howie has a Super Bowl ring.
At least I have a QB1. I guess Jalen Hurts has not been that bad, but
Hurts has been better than I expected. I'm not going out and saying he's definitely QB1 of the future, but he's been better than I thought. He's been better. I'll give him credit for that. All right, can we make a pick on Dolphins, Jaguars for Christ's sake?
I'm taking Dolphins. I'm not going to take the Jaguars.
I don't know. Maybe you're feeling ballsy. You have to catch up.
Well, the only reason that the Colts can still maybe claw their way into the playoffs is because they play in this crap division with these crap teams. Jaguars not winning many games.
All right, the pissed off Kansas City Chiefs at 2-3 are heading to Washington to take on the Washington football team. This defense has not been good all year, which is what a lot of people liked about this team. Taylor Heineke has not looked good at quarterback. I even with all the problems the Chiefs are having, this is kind of a get-right game for them. I don't see a way they lose this one.
Yeah, no. Angry Chiefs coming in. They, again, backs up against the wall. If they want any hope of trying to claw their way into the playoffs, they need to win games like this, and they will.
Yeah, especially in that tough division right now. I mean, the Broncos, the Raiders are falling back a little bit, but you still have the Broncos, and of course the Chargers. The Chiefs are quickly, look, with expanded playoff, do I expect the Chiefs to make the playoffs? Absolutely. But as of right now,
they'll grab one of those wild cards, but I don't know if they're going to win.
You're at the risk right now of not even winning the division. The Chiefs are that is not the expectation of this Chiefs team, so it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back after a tough Sunday night football outing. Let's go to another easy one. The LA Rams cross the country to head to MetLife. They take on the Giants, who will not have Saquon Barkley, Kenny Golladay, probably not Kadarius Toney, probably not Sterling Shepard, and they might not even have Danny Jones because he didn't even know where he was after that hit, got carted off. It did not look good. Mike Glennon came in, and if Mike Glennon's your quarterback, you're not going to win many football games, let alone against the LA Rams. Rams by a lot.
Yeah, Rams. Definitely, for sure.
Great analysis.
Giants are trash. I mean, what am I going to say?
No, you're not. Look. Giants are an absolute heaping pile of dog shit. I mean, I love it. I think it's hilarious. Let's go to the next game, which is an AFC South battle. The Houston Texans head to take on your Indianapolis Colts. Can the Colts hang on for a win, Taylor? Can they get number 2? Because they dropped number 2 against the Ravens last week.
Yeah, they can, and they need to. And it'll probably be closer than it should be, but you know what? I'm still taking the Colts in this one because Houston's not good at all, and the Colts showed me that they can win games. They should have won that game last night. They were one kick away. One kick. I mean, if they'd made any other, times that they got into the red zone or gotten to the, the Ravens side of the field and they'd actually scored any of those other times, it might have been a lot, more of a gap to come back from. So that concerns me. But when it comes down to it, they should have won that game against the Ravens. They're going to beat the sorry Texans.
I'm going to give you the Bart Simpson, at least you tried cake. By the way, I'm taking the Colts as well. Bengals and Lions. God, the Lions. I feel bad for all Lions fans are on suicide watch once again. They just keep finding ways to lose. Your head coach is a basket case crying in front of the press. The Bengals look good, man. Look, they didn't pull it off against the Packers, but I've seen a lot of progress from this team. I expect Burrow's poor little throat to be better by the game Sunday. He has a lot of weapons. Mixon will be a little healthier, and of course, with Jamar Chase leading the way, who could quite possibly be the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year right now.
Sure looks like it.
I'm going to take the Bengals in this one. They look good, and they're surprisingly better than I expected this year.
No, the Bengals have looked downright great. Like, they went toe-to-toe with the Packers. They only lost because no one could make a kick at the end of the game. But the Bengals look very good. Jamar Chase looks better than I thought he was going to be. I'm kicking myself for not taking him in any of my leagues. I didn't take him in one single league, and I had the choice a couple times where he was there, and I didn't take him.
But he dropped passes in the preseason.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm never gonna let preseason dictate my fantasy moves again. If it's not an injury, I don't care. But yeah, okay, you got me there. But I'm definitely taking the Bengals to win this one. I mean, the Lions just heartbreak after heartbreak. They're not very good, and the Bengals look very, very good. Well, I shouldn't say not two varies. Let's go with very good.
They look good. All right. Let's go to an NFC North divisional rival. The rivalry itself is sexier than what this game is going to be. The Packers take on the Bears out in Chicago. The Bears, even though they're coming off of wins, have not looked complete. I expect as the weeks go by, though, they're going to unleash Fields a little more. However, this is a tough ask. I think the Packers, outside of that first week, they're really starting to feel themselves, and they're showing why I picked them to go to the Super Bowl this year representing the NFC. They look so good. I have a hard time seeing the Bears keeping this one close. The Packers are going to win this one.
Listen, the Bears defense is better than I thought they would be overall, but it's like you said, it's a very hard ask to slow down the Packers enough to win. Will they do it a little bit? Yeah, maybe. Maybe they'll keep this close. The game is only a 4.5 favorite for the Packers on the road, which makes sense. The Bears are getting that at home bump, but also, honestly, I think that's a little low for the line there. But who am I? I think
who are you?
Not a Vegas line setter, that's for sure. That'd be a game I would be interested in betting on because I feel like the Packers can beat the Bears by more than 4.5 points. So yeah, I'm going Packers.
All right, let's go to the next game, and this one is going to be probably one of the games of the weeks. The Chargers head out to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, 2-4-1 AFC teams. This is a tough game to figure out. Look, this is going to be an offensive explosion, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would think so. I mean, the Baltimore defense didn't look great against the Colts as they were able to move down the field pretty easily for the most part. I mean, they got stalled a couple times, but like I said earlier, it wasn't for lack of offensive that the Colts ended up losing. Their defense collapsed, but yeah, so I don't trust the Baltimore defense as much as I trust the Chargers defense to slow down Baltimore as much as possible. I mean, I think honestly the way you beat the Baltimore is you do what the Colts did because it was successful for
what the Colts didn't do.
What the Colts did for the first half and a quarter was perfect. It was don't let them run the ball at all. Or like really sell out for the run.
NFL game's 4 quarters.
Yeah, it is. But if you trust the kicker was the only reason we lost. We had that game. We had the Baltimore beat. But yeah, so I really plus I think the Chargers defense is playing better than the Colts defense and they're healthy. So I think that if you stop the run game for them and force Lamar Jackson to throw the ball, I think you have more success than if you just let them run on you. And so I think that's what the Chargers are going to do.
But that didn't happen. He threw for over 400 yards.
Yeah, he did in the end. But the fact of the matter was we were injured. We got tired. How many times do I have to say
it's just funny because Lamar can't throw. I'm looking at.
I'm not saying that Lamar can't throw. I'm saying that of the two things, would you rather have them running the ball or throwing the ball? I think you pick throwing the ball every time. Throwing the ball or him running the ball because he's shown that he's loose with the football. He fumbled it nearly twice. Once, definitely, he literally just dropped the ball. And then the other time, it probably was a fumble, but he got down right before. But it would have been a fumble if he hadn't had the down up all the way. So, yeah, do you want the running backs running or do you want Lamar Jackson running? You probably want Lamar Jackson running in the end. But it's obviously hard to contain him because he's quick as all hell. But
are you taking the Chargers?
I'm taking the Chargers. Yes, I'm taking the Chargers.
I'm taking the Ravens.
All right, well, there we go.
Let's go to
get a game on you then.
1 o'clock East Coast game, West Coast traveling, 2 good offenses. I don't know. It seems like the Chargers, it's just one that they're going to drop. Vikings take on Carolina, 2 teams that are really hard to figure out, Taylor. I mean, the Vikings have all the talent in the world, and they struggle against the most mediocre teams out there. And Carolina, after starting off 3-0, are now 3-2. Sam Darnold is kind of back to earth. They do get McCaffrey back most likely this week. Yeah. The Vikings say, hold my beer. We're getting Cook back this week. But I mean, Madison has looked the part as well. So has Chuba Hubbard, honestly. But this is really a tough game to figure out.
Yeah, for me, it comes down to the 2 games that the Panthers lost were like the 2 games that they didn't have Christian McCaffrey, who is a huge part of their offense.
Not playing the Jets and the Texans has something to do with that as well.
True. But the Panthers defense is legit, and they added Stephon Gilmore, so they only look better from there. And so I think the Vikings are going to struggle. I think getting Christian McCaffrey back opens up the Panthers offense, kind of like the first couple of games. I know they were playing sorry opponents, but still, Christian McCaffrey is a huge part, the most important part of their offense. Let's not sugarcoat it. That he literally is. And Dalvin Cook is important to the Vikings, but not as important as Christian McCaffrey is for the Panthers. Getting him back, I think, is huge for them. I think their defense is going to be bolstered. So I think Panthers take this game against the Vikings.
I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think their offensive talent is going to prevail. I did not like what I saw from Darnold last week, and the Vikings defense's turnover-esque and turnover-driven, and that's something that Darnold really struggled with last week. I look for more of the same out of him. I think the Vikings are going to take it. It's going to be very close. Honestly, it's a coin flip for me. I'm just going with the Vikings because they're one of my wild card teams this year. So
Minnesota is 1-point favorites on the road, which is surprising.
So they're technically fair because Carolina's given 3 points.
Definitely favorites. Yeah.
So yeah.
No.
Let's go to Arizona at Cleveland, which is a sneaky, very good game. The Cardinals at 5-0, the only undefeated team left in the NFL, go and take on Baker and the Browns, licking their wounds after losing a tough game against the Chargers in an offensive shootout. I mean, the Kyler train keeps on chugging. Is it going to finally hit its end this week against Cleveland? It's going to be, this is another tough game to pick. I'm going to go Cleveland, though. I think it does come to an end. I think the Browns do exactly what you need to do against the Browns and keep the other offense off the field. They love running the ball with Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Baker hasn't really been asked to do much throwing it. But this is a team that really is going to keep Kyler and this Cardinals offense, which has become very explosive off the field. I think enough that the Browns are going to win this one.
Yeah, the Cardinals aren't great against the run, and having that two-pronged attack from the Browns is a scary thought to have. I mean, Dalvin Cook gashed them earlier this season.
Yeah. If you look at any, I mean, look what Eckler did to him last week.
Yeah,
that's the Browns. But I mean, you look at who the Cardinals has faced this year, and the rushing game has had success each and every week.
I mean, aside from week 1 where they stopped Derrick Henry, but I think that is more of an aberration. I don't think that was
consider what Derrick Henry has done the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. The past couple of weeks, Derrick Henry has really done it, and Cardinals, I think, literally. Let me look because I want to be accurate about it. I think it was literally the next week. Yeah. So they played the Titans and held Derrick Henry to like 50 yards, and then they played Dalvin Cook the next week, and he had 131 yards. So I don't think that they're anything good, like spectacular against the run. They just had a good game against Derrick Henry. So I think I agree with you that the Browns kind of control this one. Their defense is real tough. It might be, let me look real quick. Yeah, one of the toughest defenses that the Cardinals have faced. They faced the Rams, and obviously the 49ers was a grueling game for them. But Browns defense is also really, really good, usually, except against Justin Herbert. But right. I think that the Browns come out away with this one because, I mean, Cardinals are going to lose at some point. They can't go undefeated.
And they're not really, like, they're a 5-0 team, but it's not like, the Chiefs or the Bucks or the Packers where you're like, hey, man, watch out for this team. Like, the Cardinals if the Cardinals come into Philly next week, it's like, all right, bring on the Cardinals. Like, I'm not scared of Kyler Murray and the Cardinals.
I mean, that's you. I would definitely pick the Cardinals to beat your Eagles if they came in to play the Eagles. But I think the Browns are a really good team. So I think that they're going to drop this game.
All right, let's go to the Gruden-less Raiders. They head out to Mile High to take on the Broncos, who have lost 2 straight as well. Kind of laid a dud against the Steelers. This is going to be I think, a defensive battle. Both offenses are truly trying to find their way right now. However, I think that Raiders locker room is just so divided right now and looking for leadership, and they haven't looked good the past 2 weeks. They look completely lost against the Bears last week. I get that was under Gruden. who knows what kind of week of practice they're going to have. But I think this Denver team is fundamentally just better than the Raiders. This is still a very good defense. Bridgewater has been orchestrating this offense fairly well. I mean, the Steelers defense is no joke. You can't really discredit what they did last week. I'm going to take Denver in this one.
Yeah, I mean, you can't discount the whole Gruden controversy and what that's doing to the locker room and the mentality of the players and everything else. I'm sure that with all this going on, they can't be as prepared as they might be if it were a normal week where there wasn't this crazy controversy of their head coach stepping down. And you don't know how the transition is going to go from Gruden to the new interim head coach. So yeah, I'll go with the Broncos on this one. I think it's a safe bet to say that the Raiders might be a little shaken up and the Broncos defense might punch them in the mouth and just take the lead early.
All right. We got one more 4:30 game, and that is the Dallas Cowboys heading to Foxborough to take on the Patriots, who look like absolute dog shit, which is hard to say. Hard to believe that I'm saying about a Bill Belichick team.
They have a rookie quarterback. I don't know what everyone expects them to do.
They look bad. They look bad. And the Cowboys, offensively at least, seem to be like a well-oiled machine right now. I mean, look, Dallas is figured to stumble at some point. That's just what they do. I just don't think it's going to be this week against a Patriots team that's clearly trying to rebuild and find its identity.
No, I know you'll hate to hear this, but the Cowboys look really good, like especially offensively. Like defensively, obviously they have their problems here and there, but doing enough against bad teams like the Giants, and I think they'll do enough against the Patriots. Mac Jones doesn't look amazing. He's definitely, like, you can tell he's a rookie, and they're treating him like a rookie, and they're not really opening up the playbook for him and letting him really roll. And so, or if he's even capable of rolling. But the Cowboys, yeah, they're going to roll because their offense looks damn good. I'll say that.
Actually, it's not relevant, but breaking news: the Bucks removed Jon Gruden from their reign of honor from coaching them from 2002 to 2008 and winning the Super Bowl.
I was playing Madden earlier today, and they have like that superstar KO crap where you draft your team and stuff. And Gruden is featured as one of their coaches, and I was wondering,
Madden might probably this update. They usually do their updates every Thursday, so I'm sure Gruden will be out of.
Yeah, I was like, how long is it going to take for him to be replaced?
It probably won't be. He'll probably be gone this week. Sunday Night Football, the Seahawks and the Steelers. Now, I talk about my survivor picks because I'm starting to get into that where I'm still looking for those bad teams that I can pick here and there. If you're still in a survivor pool and haven't picked the Steelers, this is the week to do it. Seattle heading out to Pittsburgh. Geno Smith is the starting quarterback. The Steelers love to blitz. There is not a statistically worse quarterback against the blitz over the past 5 years than Geno Smith in his time playing. And he has played significant snaps with a couple teams, the Giants, the Seahawks. He has played for these teams, at least here and there. There is not a statistically worse quarterback against the blitz. The Seahawks seem to be lost too, man. I don't know what it is with them. Their defense isn't very good. The Steelers' offense can do enough. Roethlisberger had his best game of the year. Now, do I think of Roethlisberger as a good quarterback now? No, I don't. Losing Juju doesn't do anything for me. You still have Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. Juju was like the third option, and Najee Harris is getting better and better by the week. I think the Steelers do enough against Geno Smith in Seattle to win this game at home.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, mainly because Geno Smith is not there. I mean, honestly, or Geno Smith is there and no Russell Wilson. I mean, honestly, they were in the game with the Rams, right up until the point that Russ came out and couldn't play.
Yeah.
Did you see his finger, by the way? Ugh.
Look disgusting.
Yeah,
absolutely disgusting.
It was all sorts of messed up. And so, yeah, as soon as that happened, it just kind of all collapsed for the Seahawks, and I think that's going to be a rolling theme for them. So, yeah, I would agree, that the Steelers are going to beat the Seahawks in this one, and it was probably a decent survivor pool pick because
Well, I'm
Geno
thinking
Smith
like
is not good.
when he is not good.
When else are
I'm
you gonna
thinking,
pick the Steelers?
when else am I going to pick the Steelers? Like, I'm trying to keep my core teams. Like, I had to use Buffalo the other week, but I still have like Kansas City, LA, Baltimore, Green Bay, Tampa. Like, I have all the core good
The
teams still.
Steelers do play the Lions at some point this season.
Yeah, but I can't wait that long. I'm not waiting that long. It's later on in the year.
It's
But
risky. I think that would
but the
probably
Lions
be one of
are
the
more
riskier picks.
Lions are more stingy this year. Like, the Lions are stingy.
Yeah, but you don't think the Seahawks could put together something?
No, not with Geno Smith.
Yeah,
Not with Geno. That's the only reason I pick in this game.
I mean, yeah, if you have Russ, it would be foolish of you to pick.
If Russ was the quarterback,
Yeah,
I'd be picking
Steelers.
Seattle to win this game. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
no.
it.
I
But
get you.
Monday Night Football, the Bills take on the Titans out in Tennessee. After watching what the Bills did to the Chiefs, look, the Titans look better. Derrick Henry's a stud, but the Bills are. I mean, how can I not pick the Bills in this game after what they did to Kansas City? Bills by a lot.
Yeah, no, I don't know how you could either. I mean, we don't even know the whole health of Tennessee, whether they're going to have all their receivers
Julio's
up there.
likely out. They said they're going to determine on Wednesday, which is the day our episode airs, about Julio's status moving forward, if he's going to practice. They do have Monday, but it doesn't sound likely that Julio's going to play even this week, which is concerning considering he went out in week 2.
Yeah, so with that being said, and the way that the Bills look, I mean, yeah, Josh Allen is another guy who's MVP ready and definitely going to be up there in the discussion. 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and also rushing the ball pretty well. He had that hurdle over that guy in Kansas City. Just athletic play after athletic play. Josh Allen rolling with the Bills, and the Bills defense is really good. So,
all right, let's go. Before we head to basketball, let's do our fantasy studs and duds of the week. Hoping to get you to a fantasy football win. I know I rode Cordero Patterson last week in a couple of leagues. I know in the Godzilla Media League, I fell victim to the Clyde Edwards-Helaire injury and lost by like 6 points, which sucks because it's literally because of Clyde. But we'll be all right. We'll be all right. No panic here. Still the 4th seed. But we are here to help you all out to win your fantasy leagues. And I'm getting McCaffrey back in my keeper league.
Excited for that because I need it bad.
Yeah,
because Sermon, for some reason.
Yeah, Trey Sermon.
San Francisco decides, we're gonna trade up to get this guy and then bench him. Don't understand it. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense at all. Who is your fan? I'll let you go first. So, who is your fantasy stud this week? Non-quarterback, of course.
So, stud. First of all, I just want to say on the waiver wire pickup, I know that Kadarius Toney is maybe out this week. Still pick him up though. Guy's a stud, and he will be a stud moving forward, especially if guys like Saquon Barkley and Kenny Galladay are out for extended periods of time, which it looks like they will be, especially Galladay. He's out for a ton of time. Saquon, maybe a couple weeks with that ankle injury, but even if he doesn't play this week, he will start to play, and especially when they get Daniel Jones back, he will be a stud going forward. I picked him up before this week because I am smart and I know fantasy, and I picked him up before he had this breakout game. Did not start him, which, that is what it is. But I have him for later on, and I think that he's going to be a real stud. He looks like he's really good. Like, he makes guys miss all the time, and he just knows how to run routes. Not the greatest patch catcher, but he at least can make people miss and get some separation, which I think the Giants are, starved for weapons. But for this week, assuming that he doesn't play, he would have been my pick, but I'm not sure if he's going to play. That's why I brought him up, is because with everyone injured on the Giants, even with Mike Glennon, he has to throw the ball somewhere.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like he's likely to play, but he hasn't
got
been ruled out
X-rays and stuff. Just keep an eye on it if you happen to get him on the waiver wire, because he's owned in only 19% of leagues so far. So
he's going to be.
I'm sure that's going to go up.
Yeah,
it'll go up as of when you're probably listening to this, because the waiver goes on Wednesdays. But I'm going to go with the Steelers offense because you could go with Najee Harris because, the Seahawks, I think, have the worst rush defense in the league. But I also think that Deontay Johnson will get a ton of looks his way. Aside for last week, he still got a touchdown last week, but he only had 2 targets. But every other week before that, he's had at least 10 targets. And he's a monster for that Steelers offense. I think he will get back to getting around 10 targets if Najee Harris doesn't run the show. But I think it's still a safe bet to put either one of those guys in against the Seahawks defense.
I'm going to go with Myles Gaskin of the Dolphins. He was kind of in the doghouse 2 weeks ago and only had 2 touches and woke up last week in a big way and put up 22 points and now faces the Jacksonville Jaguars out Miami. And if they're getting Tua back, they're going to have to rely on the running game. And Myles Gaskin is clearly the best back in that backfield. I still like him a lot. I think Flores finally realizes that he needs to use him. Free Gaskin. He's going to have a big day against I don't even know if you could call it a defense. You could call it the cones of the Jacksonville Jaguars on the other side of the ball because they are horrendous. But no, Gaskin is going to have a big day. Let's go to the duds before we move on. Taylor, give me your dud of a fantasy player in week 6.
For this week is pretty easy for me because it's on a team that refuses to run the ball consistently anyway, and then pair that with going up against the best rushing defense in the league, I believe. Sit Miles Sanders down because he's not going to do anything against the Buccaneers. They refuse to run anyway, and then to couple that with the Buccaneers who only let Sonny Michel get more than 60 yards. Sit Miles Sanders. Eagles don't know how to run the ball, and they won't be able to anyway. So it doesn't matter.
I took offense to that.
I love it.
It's personal. It's personal.
I got to take my digs because, you got your digs in earlier with Lamar.
Yeah, whatever. I'm going to go Josh Jacobs with the Raiders. He's played better ever since coming back from the ankle injury. However, he has a pretty tough draw against a Broncos team that has a extremely stingy defense, has only given up an average of 16 points a game. They're losing because
Najee Harris run for 122 yards.
They let Najee Harris run all day, but however, trust me, Josh Jacobs is not going to have a good game. This Raiders offense seems to be broken right now. They, keep in mind, just lost their play caller and Jon Gruden as well. So when you're thinking about what the Raiders are going to do on offense, there's not much time to implement a new game plan. This Broncos defense is going to see a lot of vanilla packages on the offensive side of the ball. I just don't trust it. If you have better options, I would avoid it because you're still getting the likes of Kenyon Drake in there a little bit. Not much. And then you also have the likes of Peyton Barber as well for some reason showing up and grabbing some carries as well. However, he is out, I believe, because of COVID. So you might get a little bit there. But if you have better options, and this is why, he was a season-long hate for me, was Josh Jacobs. I don't see how he's going to have a good week this week.
Yeah, no. I mean, like I said, they did just allow Najee Harris, but I do think that Najee Harris over Josh Jacobs, I would take Najee Harris.
But the thing is, Najee Harris is the Steelers' offense. That's a difference.
Yeah, that's fair. I would
look at the other games that the Broncos had.
The one against the Jets, or the one against the Jaguars, or the one against the Giants.
Well, considering James Robinson has rushed for over at least 80 yards in the past 3 weeks, yeah, I mean they shut down James Robinson.
They weren't even using James Robinson back then. They didn't realize that they should be using him until a couple weeks ago. But
don't start Josh Jacobs and thank me later. You're the worst. You are the worst.
I wouldn't have to bring it if I didn't just know that Najee Harris just ran for 122 yards against them.
Anyway, this is a good time to give a shout out to Saving Face Barbershop up in Saratoga Springs. I am going on.
Once Josh Jacob picks goes wrong.
You want to do the read? You want to do the read? Then shut up. Keep drinking. I know the Colts hurt you, but don't bring it onto the show, okay?
It hasn't even been 24 hours yet, okay? Give me a break.
God, now you know how I was when Penn State lost to Iowa.
Yeah.
Back to Saving Face Barbershop. God, you're the worst. Saving Face Barbershop up in Saratoga Springs. Go check out our boy Jeremiah and the other guys up there. They are off exit 13 and off the Northway. I am heading there Friday morning. I have an appointment. I need to get a fresh cut, especially before I go out to Vegas in a week. So definitely going to be there. They have a great atmosphere, a bunch of TVs, always have sports on, cool guys to talk to, and they will not be satisfied until you are satisfied with the way you look. Obviously, with the cooler months, you might want to change the style up for the cooler months ahead. Definitely take a look at Saving Face Barbershop. You could go online and book your appointment there or give them a call as well. They have different various appointments that you can have. You can have a closed face shave. You can even have them come to your home as well, which is cool and all, but the atmosphere there is cooler. So definitely check them out and go and get a cut from Saving Face Barbershop up at Saratoga Springs with Jeremiah today. Basketball is right around the corner, Taylor, and of course we knew it was coming. I mean, Jesus Christ!
I feel like the two guys we're going to talk about are like the two biggest friggin' drama queens.
I hate
NBA.
I hate it here. I really do. Ben Simmons showed up to Philly training camp yesterday, and he unannounced, by the way, and he is taking he is participating in he can't be with the team for 5 days until he passes in COVID protocol, gets negative tests, whatever, but he is going through his physical testing. He talked to Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey today. We record on Tuesday. Joel Embiid Tuesday talked to the media and said that he hasn't spoken to Ben since the season ended. Ben Simmons believes that he can come back to Philadelphia, show his face in front of this fan base, in front of the teammates that he didn't even want to come out to LA to talk to him, and he thinks it's gonna be all fine and dandy. He's definitely in Philadelphia. I can confirm that. Whether or not this is a ploy that he is actually going to play for Philadelphia, it hasn't been announced that he renounced his trade request. But however, he is in Philadelphia. It's unclear what his intentions are, to merely report to the team or truly rejoin it, because he, isn't getting paid. And this is all what it's about with Ben, is the money. Maybe he is simply going the Marshawn Lynch route, trying to protect the rest of his paper after losing more than $1 million in salary and fines. But this feels something more akin to what James Harden tried to do last year, but the difference is you're not James Harden. You can't make a jump shot. You are a bum. You are the reason we lost Game 7. You didn't take a jump. You passed up a wide open dunk in the most crucial point of the season, Ben. You said a big F you to the city of Philadelphia and this team and its true all-star in Joel Embiid. You said you didn't want to be here in this city. You called out its fans, and you expected everything to be fine. And I tweeted this. Does Ben Simmons, the player, make the Sixers a better team without him to date? Yes. Does he owe an apology to the fans? Yes. Does he owe an apology to the organization? Yes. Does he owe an apology to his teammates? Abso-fucking-lutely he does. Is it going to be sincere? What's it going to take for him to make peace with this fan base and this team? I'll give you one answer, Ben. win an NBA championship. You are going to be booed until you prove that you improved your game, until you can prove you can make a jump shot, you can make a free throw in a shooting NBA. You have the talent to be great, but you don't have the drive. And Philly wants the drive. And until you prove that you all of a sudden got that drive, and maybe the Sixers taking away your money did that, but until you prove that, you're dead to this city, you're dead to me, you're probably dead to half that locker room, and that's the division that I don't want anything to be a part of. The Sixers do not want this distraction. They did not expect it. And Ben showing up just throws a whole wrench into this whole plan. These players were getting ready to move on without him, and for him to show up, it just makes things worse for me.
Well, see, the thing that I think happened is, so Ben Simmons asks for a trade. He says he's not showing up. He's not showing up. He's not going to play. He's not going to report to camp. He's refusing to even talk to anyone or anything that has to do with Philly. And he said, trade me right now, trade me. But the problem, Ben, is your trade value is in a complete dumpster because you can't shoot and you can't make free throws and you gave up that dunk and you shat on your teammates and you shat on the city. And so no one wants to trade for you, or at least no one wants to give up the type of capital that Philly wants back for you. And so Philly was like, okay, well, Ben, we're not going to trade you. I think Daryl Morey is just like, he's holding fast in that if we're not getting the value that we know we deserve for you, an all-star, an all-NBA, all
still 25, player, only 25 years old.
Yeah, all defensive player, 25 years old. The only problem is he can't shoot. Other than that, he's almost a perfectly built player. Like, he was the guy who was like, oh, LeBron was saying, you can be better than me if you just work at it, if you just learn how to shoot, learn how to score better than. I don't even know if it's that he can't or that he won't. He refuses to take those shots in game because you see, obviously, every offseason video he can shoot. He has the ability to shoot. Whether he can do it with a person in his face while he's actually being guarded, or whether he will do it in the game without being a pussy and not wanting to do it for fear of missing and for fear of reaction. The fact of the matter is, Philly knows at least how much they're willing to get for to give away him. They need to get at least something back. And I don't think that they're going to budge on the fact that they're at least wanting something. They want a starter, a all-star caliber player, plus the picks on top of it. And they're not going to just give him away for nothing just because he wants out, which, on the one hand, Philly, yeah, I see where you're coming from, Daryl Morey. You want to get the value, and you should get the value because he is your asset and he plays for your team. He is under your contract, and you're not going to give it away for pennies. But on the other hand, like you said, there is no way Ben Simmons can play a single minute for Philly without an extreme apology like that, because he's going to get booed. They were screaming "fuck Ben Simmons" at a wrestling event that I saw. I don't even know what it was, but it had nothing to do with basketball. But you know what they're going to do? They're going to chant. They're going to chant that. They're going to boo you. They're going to do everything because you disrespected the city. You disrespected your locker room teammates. I mean, Embiid, you basically said that you don't want to play with Embiid anymore. You want nothing to do with him. Embiid. Yeah, ghosted him. So you can't come back. So now Philly's stuck between a rock and a hard place because Ben Simmons doesn't want to lose all the money. And, fair enough for him. He doesn't want to lose all his money. But you're not James Harden, like you said. You're not Anthony Davis. You're not a player who can demand a trade out and then have this vast market for you because you don't shoot. You refuse to shoot, and you're so hampered on offense, especially in the playoffs. No playoff team wants you, at least not for very much, because they know that your value is in the dumpster right now. And so no one's going to give up a ton of money and capital for a guy who may learn to shoot, may at one point be a viable offensive threat, but not a guy that you can lay off and just not guard on the offensive end, because you can be the best defensive player in the world. If you can't shoot, you're such a liability on the offensive end in a mostly offensive league. So yeah, you're screwed. And Ben Simmons, they called his bluff, and now here he is being like, well, you called my bluff. You didn't trade me, so now I guess I'm just here.
I give Daryl Morey all the credit, and Elton Brand all all the credit in the world for not blinking. He knows he set the value for what he would want. And if it's not a franchise altering move that is going to catapult the Sixers into a slam dunk NBA contender, then he's not going to do it because he's a 25-year-old all-star, all-pro defensive that is a jump shot away from being one of the best players in the game. This is a Sixers team without him. Granted, it's preseason, but has looked good. They've gone business as usual, 2-1 preseason record. They've had a top 5 offense. Embiid is looking excellent in limited minutes. The young guards, the combination of Isaiah Joe, Shake Milton, and Tyrese Maxey are all taking turns trying to earn their share of minutes, which Simmons left behind. And would, like I said, they be better with Simmons? Yeah, absolutely. Something even Embiid, even when he's spoken out with his disappointment of Ben and saying it's kind of a, F you to us, he's made a point of mentioning every time he's asked that he thinks there's going to be some adjustments, that it won't be awkward. They're going to be professionals about this. But he's honest. We want to win, and he gives this team the best chance to win. And I don't know. They haven't looked bad without him, but he's a talent that will make it better. And it's up to Doc Rivers to surround, and up to Daryl Morey to surround this team with the talent to hopefully make it work. Or they're hoping that at some point, Simmons is going to prove that he has what it takes to play at a high level, and they can shop him for a possible trade for Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard down the line if Simmons at least looks good in the regular season. Both are on the table. I don't long term. I don't see how Ben Simmons still puts on a Sixers jersey realistically.
I don't see how he plays.
I know. I mean, I am this fan base. I am part of Philadelphia. I cannot look at that sorry piece of shit put on a Sixers uniform again and me cheer for him.
If he plays, he's going to get booed. He's going to get booed relentlessly.
Watch the Sixers home opener in a couple days, because it is, and if Simmons plays, it is going to be hostile. It is going to be uglier than Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens ever got. If you turn on Philadelphia, there's no coming back. You turned on Philly, and they have turned on you.
But that's also the problem that I think the Sixers are going to have, is because now that they called his bluff and he's like, okay, fine, I'll come to camp. I'll show up. And he's here now. He's here for the camp, for preseason. He's going to be here. And then when it comes down to game time, will they start him and play him, or will they go like the route that Anthony did with the?
You have to play him. You have to play him. I don't think so. Personally, I would.
If you do and you're getting booed and he is in his head mentally, because he will be, because he doesn't even need to be booed and he's already in his head mentally, then how is he going to make the team better? How is the chemistry going to form at all if you have this guy dragging ass getting booed up the court? Like, I just don't see that as a tenable stance.
It's going to be two chants in the Wells Fargo Center. It's going to be the asshole chant and Ben, you suck. Those are going to be the chants. And this is something. Do the Sixers want that? No. Does Ben want that? Absolutely not. I don't know what Rich Paul has to be fired by every top NBA talent out there by the way he played things. I mean, how horrible on his part.
I don't put it on him, though, because, like, what is he supposed to do with a guy who killed his own trade value by not shooting shots? Like, if he was Harden and he did everything the exact same way, he would already be on another team. It's because Ben Simmons himself killed his own trade value. It's not all the other antics and crap that he did is basically not that dissimilar from what Anthony Davis did. But the fact of the matter is Anthony Davis had a huge market because people wanted him bad, and they want James Harden bad. The Nets wanted him. They were willing to give up whatever they could. And the Portland Trailblazers, who are trying desperately to keep Damian Lillard, wouldn't even give up CJ McCollum and a couple picks or whatever they wouldn't, because they want, because Ben Simmons' trade value is so bad. Like all he is good for is defense, and he's a really good distributor. He's a good passer. But if he's not an offensive guy, then in the playoffs, you will break down and you will not be able. You can't have a guy out there who can't do anything. Like, especially a guy who handles the ball so much. It's just it's untenable, and I don't know how the Philadelphia, because now it's like so Morey didn't blink and give him up for nothing. So now Ben Simmons is like, all right, here you go. I'm calling your bluff now that you're going to keep me on this team, even though all this shit is going on, even though the fans are going to boo me, even though there's no chemistry in the locker room. I'm going to call your bluff. Sure, play me. See what happens. And when the team implodes and goes 0-5 or whatever for the first couple, I'm not saying they will, but like say they did because of all this controversy, then what? Then he looks at Daryl Morey and says, what are you going to do now? You're going to have a losing season with the prime of Joel Embiid, or are you going to trade me for nothing or next to nothing or whatever you can get?
I'll say to the I'll end with this before we move on to our last couple topics. Ben, you're coming home, right? You're coming home. Maybe you can go home. But when home is Philly, you're going to be in one hell of a welcome. I will just leave it at that. Let's go to Kyrie. Oh, Kyrie. Two top teams in the Eastern Conference have quite the controversy. I mean, Ben has been a forever going saga, but now the Nets have announced that Kyrie Irving's decision to not comply with New York City's COVID-19 vaccine mandate, as everybody knows, has left the organization, quote, no choice but to send him away from the team until he is able to fully participate. This is, I mean, we kind of figured this was coming, but Kyrie is one of those players that I don't think he loves basketball enough, Taylor, to go and get the vaccine just so he can come back. Is this the end of Kyrie? Like, are we going to see Kyrie with the Nets this year? I don't think so.
I thought for a second maybe that they would just suck it up and do his part-time only away games, because my reasoning was just like Kyrie half the time is better than no Kyrie at all. But I get what they're saying, where they're just like, you know, the chemistry would be all off. You can't just sit out half the games and expect to be fine. And then if you got to a situation where, like, say the Clippers or the Lakers are in the finals against the Nets, then because there's or the Warriors even, because there's a mandate, I'm pretty sure in LA, I know in San Francisco, maybe not in LA, but in San Francisco. So say it was a Warriors like Nets finals, he wouldn't really be able to play in either one. Like maybe they make an exception for the away team, but I think that might be the case. But, you know, because he wouldn't be allowed in either stadium because he's not, you know, vaccinated at all. And New York has a mandate and San Francisco has a mandate. So it's like, that would be untenable as a situation. And so now, just because Kyrie's being stubborn, yeah, he's not going to play for the Nets at all, even on away games. And at this point, I would not be surprised. In fact, someone got me earlier because I follow some weird people on Twitter who retweet fake Sports Center accounts that only have like one letter different on their handle. And so at first I saw a Sports Center thing that was like Kyrie Irving to retire. And I believed it because
it's believable.
Point, who knows?
He doesn't love playing the game. He's been very clear he doesn't. He doesn't need basketball, in his opinion. He has come out and literally said that. So I think this is something where I don't know if you see Kyrie this year.
I would not be,
which would be a big blow to the Nets. Massive.
Oh, for sure. It's one of the three best players. The core, one of the cores of their trio they've got there. I mean, they still be good. They still have Durant and Harden. You can't be a bad team when you have those two guys. But yeah, no, it's definitely a blow for them, especially because they were hoping that he would be, you know, there, and then Patty Mills would be the depth. If Patty Mills has to be the starter or whatever, whoever has to now step up and be the starter, that's less depth that they have on the bench. And so, yeah, I would not be surprised if in the next 24 to 48 hours, we just get that ESPN update, that Woj bomb, that Kyrie's just retiring from the league because he's stubborn. I don't know why you wouldn't just get the vaccine. I mean, I say that from a point where we both, I'm sure, are both vaccinated and
yes,
we're fine. No, we're fine.
I
We're
was
fine.
even, it's just mind blowing that you would give up your career for a simple vaccine.
And
That is
millions of
clearly,
dollars.
it's not
let's be honest.
not about it's about your own safety and health. I mean, because I'm vaccinated, was able to. Obviously, it's different, but I was in a jam-packed stadium, full 75,000 people the other week, not having to wear the mask and just being able to relax and enjoy a game. It was normal. You want to get back to normal, Kyrie. You want to get back to normal.
And it's
but
not
he's
a
not
hard
normal.
thing. It's not a hard. He's definitely not normal, but it's not a hard thing to get vaccinated. If anyone's listening and you're not vaccinated, I implore you to get vaccinated. We're fine. Most people are fine. Like 99.99999% of people are fine when they get it. So, and it just helps. It doesn't do any harm, generally speaking.
I'm not growing a third arm yet that I know of. So
yeah, no. It's been over a year and a half since I got mine, so I don't know what else to say. Like, you just get vaccinated, Kyrie. I don't know if he will. I really don't.
I highly doubt it.
But at this point, I'm sick of talking about him.
Let's go to MLB playoffs. We did promise our fans we would talk the MLB playoffs. It's going to be tough to talk mostly about the playoffs because everything's happening as we're recording.
Literally a game happening right now.
However, I can confirm to you we can preview the Astros and the Red Sox American League Championship Series as the Astros finish off the White Sox on Tuesday. The Red Sox finishing the Rays off on Monday. A little surprising, not exactly who I expected to win that series. I did expect the Astros to beat the White Sox. However, Red Sox-Astros is probably the nightmare scenario for your Yankees fans out there, including you, Taylor. Having one of those teams represent the American League is not ideal for you, but nonetheless should be a very good series.
Yeah, it's going to be a very good series. I think they match up well with each other. If I had to pick right now, I don't know if you're asking me to pick, but if I had to pick, I lean Red Sox. Red Sox are so hot right now.
Yeah, I'm leaning Red Sox. Well, there's something about this Red Sox series that feels right. Yeah,
it's just like they've got that Red Sox magic. I mean, 2 walk-offs and I think it was back-to-back. Was it back-to-back games or at least in the same series? 2 walk-off victories. They just look really good. I mean, the Astros are definitely putting up points, and they definitely wiped that. I mean, the game today, 10-1 Astros over the White Sox, so they really closed it out hard. But I still feel like Boston finds a way to pull this off because they just seem like in the playoffs anyway, they are one of the hottest teams, especially in the AL. So,
and let's I'm gonna go with the Red Sox as well. Let's go to the National League. It's kind of be tough because of when we're recording and some elimination games are going on right now. The Braves are up 2-1 against the Brewers in the series. However, as we're recording, the Brewers are winning game 4 right now. 4-2 in the top of the 5th as we're recording. That may change, that may not. I think in the end, even if the Braves don't finish it off tonight, I think they will in game 5. I think the Braves are the better team. And then and they do. They look it. San Francisco and the Dodgers, the Giants. That game we're recording on Tuesday night at 9:00 is game 4. The Giants have the opportunity to take out the Dodgers, which is kind of a surprise there. The Giants have been the best team in baseball all year. I can't stomach watching Gabe Kapler win a championship. So I'm LA, please just finish him off. I'd rather see the Braves win than Gabe Kapler win. So,
this is such a hard series to predict. I know that the Giants are up right now, but I do expect the Dodgers.
It's hard. It's hard.
Tie it up.
How do I would expect the Dodgers to as well. And game 5, if necessary, is Thursday. Yeah. So we'll obviously have more answers next week. My gut says the Dodgers will win the next 2, but who knows? They're going to pull out all the stops.
Honestly, my gut says the Giants are going to win just because I think the Dodgers are really going to be missing Clayton Kershaw and, like Trevor Bauer not having that other real good starter. I mean, Scherzer got beat up. Yes. Well, he didn't get beat up. He only allowed 1 run, but it was enough. So, yeah, I don't know. I think they're really missing Kershaw, and that worries me for the Dodgers. My gut right now, I think the Dodgers force a game 5, but I think the Giants might win it.
As of now, who's your World Series pick?
I don't want to say Boston, so I'm going to say the Giants. But I do think Boston is just like I said, they just look so hot right now. They look like the hottest team in the playoffs, and they're finding ways to win these games, these slug it out games, and finding ways to walk off victories. So it scares me, and I don't ever want to pick them. So I'm going to pick the Giants because I think the Giants are one of the best teams in baseball right now.
If the Dodgers get out of this Giants series, the Dodgers will win.
I think the winner of the Giants-Dodgers series is going to win.
However, I do agree with you that the Red Sox look very, very good, very, very lethal. And I know Yankees fans don't want to hear it, but the Red Sox do look the part in the American League.
If you put a gun to my head, though, I'd probably say the winner of this Giants-Dodgers series.
My gut says the Dodgers will find a way, but if not, I hope not, because if Gabe Kapler wins the World Series, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, well, how you feel about the Giants winning a World Series is how I feel about Boston winning.
Yeah, right. Series. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That will do it. An almost 2-hour episode. We had a lot to talk about. Yeah. We knew it was going to be a marathon, but we appreciate you all tuning in and listening on Sports with a Z and a T. I, of course, am Bryce Zielinski alongside Taylor Lattimore. We are presented by Godzilla Media, sponsored by Mohawk Honda, Johnstone Supply in Troy, and Saving Face Barbershop up in Saratoga Springs. You can find our episodes on Spotify, Apple, and as well as YouTube. I do know some people like the YouTube feed and like to watch our beautiful faces for an hour and a half to 2 hours each week. Appreciate you for that. More power to you. But that'll do it for this week. Enjoy
rate us and stuff.
Yes, rate us and rate us, comment things. But no, your feedback is extremely important. Add us at Twitter as well. If you guys want us to do any certain types of segments or include something on the show, we absolutely want your feedback and what you want us to talk about to make this show better and more enjoyable for you guys. Not that it's not enjoyable. Of course it's enjoyable. No, we want to make it as enjoyable as possible. So whatever the fans want, they will get. Enjoy the full slate of football. Enjoy the MLB playoffs, basketball right around the corner. The NHL starts this week for the hockey fans out there. We haven't talked hockey. Not sure how much hockey we're going to talk on this show, but as much as I would love to, we just don't have the time. But hockey season starts as well. Once again, for Taylor, I am Bryce. This was Sports with a Z and a T. Be safe out there. We will catch you next week.
See y'all later.